Hello, I'm Bernard Norcott-Mahany. I work at the Blueford branch of the Kansas City Public Library, and I'd like to wish you a happy National Poetry Month. That's the month of April every year. Um, what I've done for the past dozen or so years is that I read a poem a day. Um, Usually I pick a particular poet. Sometimes I pick like a period. I did World War I poetry one year. Um, for April 2023, I will be reading each day a poem by Wallace Stevens, one of the 20th century greatest American poets. I mean, he would have been one of the 20th century's greatest poets, period. But certainly in America, he was quite famous and um, quite important. He was a modernist poet. So he's very much in the modernist movement. His poems have vivid imagery. There's also like a musical quality. He was influenced by music, and so there's a musical quality to his poetry. The poems, though, at times can be abstract and can be. He looks like he was going for some sort of philosophical statement in his poetry, and they can be sometimes very puzzling. Like it's difficult to know what's going on. So. Though he has realist elements, he's much more imaginative and crazy, wild in ways that, for instance, William Carlos Williams is not. So just sort of beware of that. Some of the poems, the longest one I think is 2 minutes, so they're not long poems, but they can be at times difficult to know exactly what is going on. His day job was he worked at the Hartford Insurance Company for most of his work life. He worked for a different insurance company before that. He had been an attorney for insurance companies prior to that. He was an executive vice president at Hartford, in Hartford, and one of the big insurance companies. And was well respected in the insurance world. I mean, he was sort of a big name in the business as well as being a famous poet. And you can, if you go to Hartford, you can actually see where he lived. You can also see the Hartford office where he worked, and there's actually a walk from his house to the office, which he apparently did most days. He walked to and from work. That have one of his poems, 13 Ways of Looking at a Blackbird, set out on stones along the route. So you can basically take the path that he took, and you can see, while you do that, you can sort of reflect on this one poem of his. He won the Pulitzer Prize in 1955, which was the year of his death. So we lived from 1879 to 1955. He won the Pulitzer Prize for his collected poems. So this was in a sense, the culminating work of his life. And then he won the Pulitzer Prize. He died soon after that. So join me each day in April on YouTube. The links should all be there. You can hear each day a poem by Wallace Stevens. If you don't know much about him, this would be a way to get introduced to him. At the end of the month, you will have heard 30 poems. And then you can decide whether you like Stevens or not. There are recordings of Stevens himself reading his work. You can go to YouTube. You can find some of those. Sadly, it would be nice if there were more of those than there are, but like anything else, you sort of take what you can get. So, again, happy National Poetry Month for 2023. For the month of April, every day I will be reading a poem by Wallace Stevens. Hope that you can catch some of them. Hope that you like what you hear, and that you are inspired to read poetry on your own and check out Wallace Stevens.